What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the GolfMagic channel. Now today I'm at Knoll Park Golf Club on the driving range, but instead of hitting some balls, I'm going to be hitting some putts with two different putters. I've got this TaylorMade Spider Tour X in white and also the Odyssey Stroke Lab 10. So they're very similar designs. Obviously the TaylorMade Spider putter has been around for a while with variations of design, and the Odyssey released this putter where it looks very similar. So I'm going to test these out today, go through a range of putts from long to short and see which one's right for your game. Let's get into the video. Right, so both of these putters were released this year in 2020 and they do have similar price ranges. The Odyssey Stroke Lab Black 10 putter comes in at £269 an RRP, and the TaylorMade Spider X Chalk comes in at £299 an RRP. The design of the Odyssey Stroke Lab 10 is a bit of an interesting one. Odyssey say it's inspired by the number 7 putter and more, but it does look eerily similar to the TaylorMade Spider putter range. Odyssey also say that there is Stroke Lab weight distribution in the putter, which encourages a more consistent putting stroke. Going back to the design, although it does look quite similar to the TaylorMade Spider putter, it is still a really nice design with that nice matte black finish, and overall the alignment is really nice to see for a big style putter. This multi-material putter comes in the slant or double neck bend options, and it also has a new micro hinge start insert which is supposed to create a firmer feel and a much more pleasing sound at impact while providing the same roll characteristics Odyssey's very popular white hot micro hinge insert. So let's see how this putter performs on the putting green. Putters are a little tougher to analyse as we have no launch monitors or computer statistics to determine what's actually better, but I can give you my opinion for each. My putting is certainly the worst part of my game. I play left hand over low and usually have around 32 to 33 putts around and mainly struggle with the pace of the greens. With this testing, I started with 20 foot putts, then 50 foot and finally finished with 6 foot putts. Now for the Odyssey, I definitely felt the most confident from this mid-range. I was pleasantly surprised by how it looked over the ball and it definitely felt confident at address. The weighting is a little bit different. You can tell the balance is different to previous putters, so that took some getting used to. Longer putts for me was where it got really interesting. The putt I chose was by no means a slow putt. It was fast and down a pretty significant slope, so I didn't have to put that much power into it, but I still had to increase the arc length of my stroke. I felt myself lose a little bit of control with this putter head here, and on some putts I didn't really know where the middle of the club face was, which for a putt of any length is pretty embarrassing. This led to some pretty inconsistent results. Although I eventually got the pace and the line of this putt, there were a lot of efforts that I had that were in about a 10 foot to 15 foot circle, which is certainly not what you want to be having for your second putt. For me, this would put me off getting this putter, but again, it's all personal preference, so I'd recommend trying this if you're uncertain. Short range putts is something I really struggle with. It's more of a mental thing, to be honest, where I get in my head and second guess every aspect of the putt itself. But with that, you do need a putter that will settle your mind and try and help you focus on making that stroke. I felt like the Odyssey did a great job with this. Its large structure for the head almost overpowers the hole, and I didn't feel any ambiguity here from the weighting like I did in the longer putts. It's also worth noting that the colour scheme has no glare on the black colour. So again, it's all positives from me from this distance, and it's certainly a strong point for this putter. Now, the TaylorMade Spider X putter does have several colours, navy, brown and the new chalk, which is the one I tested today. The Spider generation itself has a vast history. In fact, it's over 10 years old now, with the first being much larger and clunkier, almost built like a fridge. Since its first release in 2008, it has become a global phenomenon on tour and for amateurs, and with this design, it's very easy to see why. The Spider X itself is smaller than the previous models, and they have reintroduced the sightline that hasn't been present in other older models, such as Jason Day's. Going into the actual specifics of this, the new models have been improved in every aspect. The head is 5% smaller for a much more aesthetic look, while a carbon core, which now weighs 15 grams instead of the 79 grams in the old model, frees up a lot of weight to increase the head stability frame from 247 grams to the 320 grams. For mid-range putts, I honestly don't think any putter can beat the Spider X. The chalk colour is superb, And this putter has been used for a good few months now, and there's been no wear on the colour itself, if you're concerned about that. The weighting feels extremely balanced, and the Super Stroke grip is a great added touch. For me, I always felt square when hitting a putt from this range, and as long as I lined up correctly, I'd have a decent chance of holding one. Longer putts was where this putter came out tops by a long way. It's worth mentioning that the insert here feels very soft and far better than the previous models. To be honest, I had a Spider putter a few years back and I got rid of it after 3 rounds because of how much I hated the insert. It was hard and just really unpleasant to hit. However, TaylorMade have come up trumps here as it feels quite soft and very responsive for those off-centre strikes, which is exactly what amateurs need. The arc length issue I had with the Odyssey wasn't present here, as you can see by my results and actually holding one. The Super Stroke grip definitely added to this, but the overall feeling of this putter from the distance was a lot more confident. The feel of this putter from long range was top class, and I definitely recommend trying it here. For short putts, this is another big positive for the Spider X in comparison to their previous models, and this is down to 2 things. The new alignment design is really helpful, and especially for that chalk colour, because it looks really professional. The smaller head, although still large, has a similar feel to the Odyssey in that it overpowers the hole and makes you feel very confident at address. Right guys, so I'm back at home now and I've had a bit of time to think as to who I would recommend these 2 putters to. Now, you can probably see by this video that I do prefer the Spider X to the Odyssey, but that doesn't mean I wouldn't recommend both putters to certain types of players. Now, because the Spider X putter has a bit of a softer feel, I'd probably recommend that to people who play on a bit of faster greens. Whereas the Odyssey, I would probably actually recommend that to someone who's maybe a little bit worse, higher handicapper, just because of how massive it is in comparison to the Spider X. I feel like that's really, really good for like an amateur golfer for those short putts that you think you can miss. The Odyssey putter did perform a little bit better for those shorter putts, and I think it was because it was just so massive. The Spider X is still a big putter, and I do think it is a better putter for the all-around game. For those mid-range putts, for those long-range putts, I certainly preferred it. Still, I'd recommend if you can to try them both at your local store or golf club. If you can't, then take my advice and get which one you think is right for your game. If you guys enjoyed this type of video, make sure you leave a like, it really helps us, and subscribe for more content in the future. We'll see you guys at the next video.